Well, hello out there, folks. Welcome to the Really Real Deal. Your friendly neighborhood hatchet man, Brother Craig here, or as we observe the 20th anniversary of September 11th, the American September 11th. I'm going to share with you September 11th battles and attacks that go all the way back to the year 1565. Okay. And so many people don't know this. You're not going to get this on CNN. You're not going to get this on Fox News. You're not going to get this on Newsmax. Okay. You're not going to get this in commercial talk radio. All right. As much as I respected the late great, I loved the Rush. Not only did I respect him, I loved the Rush Limbaugh, and I learned so much from his program. I listened for about 30 years. But for the last 20 years, not once has had this been discussed. Very few talk radio programs would discuss this. Okay, very few talk radio programs. I think I may have heard Michael Savage mention it a few times. I've heard Mark Levin do it once. Oh gosh, there's a really, really great Christian talk radio host. I need to recall his name and give him credit because he's done it several years. Okay. He comes on American Family Radio in the morning. Sometimes he gets a little 2 or 3 minute segment on. I'm drawing a blank here with the names. I love to give them credit, but for the most part, the media, they don't touch this. Okay. And now I'm going to go through. We have the Great Siege of Malta, okay, the Christian Knights of Malta. Then we have the Second Siege of Vienna, okay. Both sieges of Vienna were unsuccessful, right? And then we have the Battle of Zenta, all right. And then we're going to come up to the American September 11th, which is 2001, and then the Battle of Benghazi, which was September 11th, 2012. Okay. And so all these battles on the same date, all right, September 11th. Now, for the battles of the 1500s and the 1600s, this was what's known as siege warfare. So the actual battle was months long. It's just that the key part where the Muslim army, the Ottoman Turk army, got routed and ran and tucked tail and went home. That happened on September 11th. Okay, but let's go with the first one here, which was truly a turning point for Europe. Okay, the Great Siege of Malta. All right. And so the siege actually started on May 18th. It was a 4-month-long siege. And so Suleiman the Magnificent, as he liked to be called, saw this as an opportunity to dominate the Mediterranean and to have an entree into Europe, because it was always the Muslim goal. You know, they spread Islam with the sword. And so they just wanted to take it into Europe and just take it all over the world. All right. You know, not spreading Islam by sharing some, like the gospel is the literally the good news. You share the gospel. And Jesus said, if you go to a city and you take this gospel, and if the people don't want it, his exact words, a direct quote, were, knock the dust off of your shoes and then walk to the next city. Okay. But in Islam, when people don't want what they have, you don't knock the dust off your shoes and then go peacefully to the next city. You pull out a sword and you force people. Okay. Because Islam means to submit. Okay. And so this was a siege effort at getting an entire continent to submit to Islam. Okay. And so again, this is the year 1565. Okay. And so a few facts here. They show up with a 200 ship armada. They show up with 40,000 regular troops. They show up with 6,000 elite Janissary infantry. and 9,000 cavalry. All right. And they start out with psychological warfare, beheading Christian knights and tying them to large crosses and then floating them down the river to the island of Malta. Okay. And so they were opposed by a few Maltese regulars, and they were led by the Knights of Malta, as they were called, or the Knights Hospitalier. All right, and they were led by their Grand Master. His name was Jean Périsson de la Valle. Okay, and so we'll just call him John. Okay, and they were the Knights of Saint John. Now, Saint John in the Bible, not they were calling this guy Saint John. Just a coincidence of the name. Okay, so now the men of the city of Sicily came to their aid, near the end of this 4-month siege. Okay. And so that extra help that they got from the ordinary Sicilians is like today here we have people left back in Afghanistan. And what are they doing? Citizens, retired soldiers, even Glenn Beck did a big airlift, raised $20 million. And so people like Glenn Beck and his group, a lot of the retired military men, they were determined that they were going to go and they were going to save these Christians. And, many of the regular Afghanis who served as translators and who were helping. And so here we got 500 plus years later, and nothing has changed. Nothing has changed. Okay. Still in the year 1565, regular people had to come to the aid of the Knights Hospitalier. Okay. And together they were able to repulse a much, much, much larger force. And the key date again was September 11th. Okay. So now we go to the second of these September 11th. This would be the second siege of Vienna. Now, the first siege of Vienna was in 1529, which failed. Okay. And again, these are the Ottoman Turks. All right. And the Ottoman Turks are wanting to enter and dominate Europe. Okay. Now they were unsuccessful going in the southern route through Malta, and so now they want to go the northern route through Vienna. And they've already, now the year is 1683. Now 150 years earlier, they failed in the siege of Vienna. Right, and so, but again, this is how the Ottomans, the Muslim world, this is how they spread Islam, by the sword. All right. And so now this time you had the Christian infighting was of a benefit to the Muslim Ottomans. All right. And so you had the leader of the Hungarian Calvinists, Imre Thokoli. He had appealed to the Ottoman Grand Vizier Kara Mustafa to attack. All right. And so with the tacit support of the Hungarian army, 150,000 Ottoman troops laid siege to Vienna. All right. And so this is 150,000 troops now, and they have the support of a portion of the Christian armies. All right. And so you have a division among the Christians in order to gain some type of, excuse me, still recovering a little bit. So I need to tone down and try to save my voice. So you have this siege, which started on July 17th and lasted until September of 1683. So this time you had a little over 2 month siege. Okay, about 9 weeks. All right, and so now you have the Pope who is unsuccessfully trying to get Louis of France to aid against the Ottomans, to aid Leopold, and so they ended up they persuaded Charles of Lorraine, some armies in Saxony and Bavaria, and 30 of the German princes, and they all cobbled a little something together. And their leader was Jan Sobieski, or John the Third. Polish is Jan, Y-A-N, Jan Sobieski. All right, and so uh, they brought in 80,000 troops, and they had the largest of those 80,000 troops that were brought. 38,000 of them were cavalry. Okay, and so this is the largest cavalry march in the history of human warfare. Nothing larger before, or nothing larger since. Not in just in the sense of just there've been larger armies, but I'm talking about just men on horseback, cavalry. All right, the largest in history. And so on September 11th, there, they came in, and after a 15-hour battle, the Ottomans were driven home. And so that's two September 11th defeats in a row now. Okay, and so this date, just like we here in America, we say December 7th that was the date that the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor. And that famous speech that FDR gave, he said, is a date that will live in infamy. Okay, see, because freedom is not free. Okay, freedom is not free. And so here we got this civilizational battle that's going back, over 550 years. All right, and so you have this second September 11th, where now they have a date in the mind of the dedicated Muslim fundamentalists, a date that lives in infamy. Okay, now our date that lives in infamy, it was an unprovoked attack by the Japanese upon America. All right, and so now, and we ended up victorious at the end of World War II. Now, in their case, their date that lives in infamy, we did not attack them unprovoked and then they went on to victory. No, they attacked us unprovoked. And when I say us, I mean the Christian world. Okay, we, America, we are an offshoot of Europe. Okay, and so, that's how I get the us. Okay, because we are a part of the Christian Western world within the Judeo-Christian ethic. We are the United States of America. We are a part of that. And today we are the leader of that. Okay. And so this is how I say us. Okay. And again, nothing has changed. Okay. And so 550 years, you have the Great Siege of Malta. They're trying to take over Europe. 150 years later, the year 1683, you have the second siege of Vienna. And then 17 years later, in the year 1697, okay, year 1697, now we're at the Battle of Zenta, okay, the Battle of Zenta. And so I'll just read a very small part of an article here. Okay, just over 300 years ago, the Turkish Ottoman Empire was within striking distance of assimilating Europe. But in one of the defining moments of European history, Ottoman dominance evaporated in a mortifying military defeat. At Zenta in northern Serbia, the 80,000 strong Turkish army was annihilated by Habsburg forces under the leadership of a brilliant military tactician, Prince Eugene of Savoy. After Sultan Mustafa had captured Belgrade, he headed north along the river Tisa towards the strategically important Hungarian city of Szeged. It was too late in the year for further campaigning, so he decided to cross the Tisza at Zenta to ensconce his troops in Ottoman-held territory for the winter. Okay, so they're going to winter over and then plan to attack in the spring. And this is how, military was fought, hundreds of years ago. All right. And so you had to have weather conditions had to be favorable. All right. So meanwhile, Prince Eugene, one of Europe's ablest commanders, hastily mustered an opposing army. Now, the Sultan was unaware that he was being pursued by Eugene. So he entrenched his troops and prepared to cross the river Tisza. So Eugene snuck up behind him, positioned his heavy artillery in the high ground overlooking the river. And he chose his moment carefully. All right. So just as the Sultan's own artillery was fording the river and therefore out of action, Eugene gave the order to start raining down shot from high up above in the high ground. All right. Now, at the same time, he mounted an assault on the rear flank of the Turkish army. And so the Turks found themselves hemmed in between the river and Eugene's army. And mayhem broke out, and thousands plunged into the water to escape being slaughtered. Thousands of them drowned, by the way. Okay. And so Zenta, it's said, was arguably the most ignominious defeat ever inflicted on the Turkish Empire. Now, I say it's, one third, one third, one third. All three of these defeats were ignominious. They were huge, and they were game changers. Okay. If the Christian armies lose any one of these three military battles, sieges, whatever we want to call them, if any one of them is lost, world history changes. The Muslim world would get to dominate Europe. Okay. And but that did not happen. All right. In each of the three cases, a tremendously huge military defeat was inflicted on the Muslim armies, in spite of the fact that in each of the three, they had the superior manpower. All right. And so now, not only were all of the Sultan's arms and treasure captured, but he even lost his imperial state seal and his personal harem. Okay, I don't know why that's a big deal, but so whoever wrote this article, they thought that was worthy of mention. All right, but the threat of Ottoman hegemony was ended for good. Okay, and it was Austria's turn to dominate Europe. Okay. And so, and again, this was September 11th in the year 1697. This was in Zenta, which is now Serbia. Okay, it's in Zenta in Hungary. So it's now it would be Senta, Serbia now. It was Zenta, Hungary then, and the Turks lost 20,000 men, while more than 20,000 were killed in action. 10,000 drowned in the river. And the Habsburg forces only suffered a few hundred casualties. Okay. And this signaled the end of the Austro-Ottoman Great Turkish War of 1683 to 1699. And it forced the Turks into signing a treaty which ceded a large chunk of Hungary, the whole of Croatia and Slovenia, and most of Transylvania, basically all the territory that the Ottomans had that gained in their empire in Central Europe. They lost all of that, from 1526 up to 1697. That's a lot of years and a lot of territory, and all of that was lost because one brilliant military tactician saw an opportunity. He saw, the enemy asleep at the wheel, and he took advantage and he sprung into action. Okay. And so there you go. 1, 2, 3, ABC, boom, boom, boom. September 11th, in the mind of the dedicated Muslim fundamentalist, okay, a date that will live in infamy, and a date in which they seek revenge. Okay. And again, now, this is not some Christians coming and bothering some nice little innocent Muslims who are just tending their goat herds and not bothering anybody. Okay. This is warfare that's being waged and they're being repulsed. Okay. And so it's a different type of date that lives in infamy from our December 7th or our September 11th, 2001. Okay. Because, we're not bothering them. They're bothering us. All right. And so you don't get this being taught. All right. What you get being taught is, oh, September 11th was just, an unfortunate thing. You know what? These Muslim lawmakers who got themselves elected here in the United States of America, one of them said some bad men did some bad things. They just minimize. Okay. And you can't get CNN to say this. You can't get ABC, NBC, MSNBC. You can't get Fox News to say it. You can't even get commercial talk radio to say it. Okay? You just cannot get anyone to say this. All right. And I put this on every year for years. I've put this on. Okay. And put this information out here on September 11th. Now, in our September 11th, there's a biblical connection that I will cover in my Sunday sermon tomorrow. Okay. And it'll be from the book of Kings. And, it'll show that if you were able to go back, if you had foreknowledge, you could go back to September 11th, 1998. You could predict to the minute of when the attacks would occur. Okay. Not only you'd be able to predict September 11th, 2001, you'd be able to predict between 8:30 and 10:30. Okay. It's just that precise now, but that's a little teaser to get you to tune in tomorrow. Okay, we'll go through the biblical aspect of it tomorrow, where Bill Clinton is King Ahab, Hillary Clinton is Queen Jezebel, Vince Foster is Naboth of Naboth's. And look this up. Look up Naboth's vineyard and what happened to Naboth. What did Ahab want? What did Queen Jezebel do? And what was God's appointed punishment for what happened? That's your Bible assignment for today, so that you can be prepared to hear tomorrow. I think that's a good idea. I always give a Bible assignment on Sunday. All right, we give the Bible assignment out ahead of time so you can do a little reading and be prepared. So when you hear me talk about Naboth and Naboth's vineyard, and so you will have a reference point of exactly what it is I'm talking about. Okay. And the simple fact that here in the year 2001, something that was written of in the Bible 2,800 years previously played itself out to such perfection would mean that all of these September 11ths, if any one of them does not happen, and let's say that rather than September 11th, it happened in October or May or July or whenever, and there's no single united date in order to instill in the mind of the dedicated Muslim fundamentalist a particular date that lives in infamy, then maybe our September 11, 2001, maybe it doesn't happen on that date. And then this connection between Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, Vince Foster, and Ahab, Jezebel, and Naboth, that connection wouldn't be able to be made. And so for hundreds of years, things have had to happen and fall in place on a certain date in order to get to 2001. And so where it happens again on September 11th, 2001. Okay. And again, now, lest you think that the Muslim fundamentalists have given up on this. Oh, Brother Craig, that's just Osama bin Laden and he's dead, and they don't think like that anymore. Okay, the Battle of Benghazi. All right, my friend Tonto. Okay, Tonto, Tig, and Oz were the three military contractors who defied the Barack Obama administration on September 11th, 2012, when they were told to stand down. Okay, so you had the Benghazi ambassador Christopher Stevens, and you had 25 other people in his office. They were calling for help, saying that they were under attack. Okay, and the White House didn't want to hear this because Obama was in the middle of a re-election, and a part of the re-election theme was that he had defeated terrorism, so there is no terrorism. So they had to create this lie to say, oh, a Jew made a video and the Muslims got upset, and this just was spontaneous. This was not a planned attack. This was a planned attack. This was as much a planned attack as September 1565, September 11th, 1683, September 11th, 1697, and September 11th, 2001. This was a planned attack because September 11th is a date that lives in infamy in the mind of the dedicated Muslim fundamentalist, even to today. All right. And so Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton met with the families of the dead, looked them in the eye, and told them, oh, we're going to get this Jewish guy. We've locked him up and we're going to make him pay for making that video insulting Muhammad, and got the Muslims all upset. As though it's okay to kill people because someone made a video you don't like. Okay? And so this is the message that they send out. All right, it's no different than when, George Floyd dies and people riot and loot and burn and murder and assassinate police officers. The police back up, but they don't do anything. The few that get locked up, then the vice president, she sets up a bail fund to constantly bail them out. And so the message is, oh, if something happened that you don't like, it's okay to burn cities down. Okay. It's okay to pick bricks up and throw them through the windows of people. Well, it's okay to take spray paint and just spray. And so they feed people's hate and anger, and they say it's okay because someone upset you. Okay. So this is the same thing in the year 2012 that they said to the Muslims that, oh, it's okay that you killed our ambassador and 3 other people. I mean, and if it had not been for Tonto, Tig, and Oz, 25 more people would have died. And they were able to save 25 lives because they called into the White House and they said, hey, I know you told us to stand down, but these people are calling us and we hear gunfire. There is an organized military attack on the consulate in Benghazi, and I don't care what you say, we're going to go in. All right. And so the 6 of them went in, and 2 of their men died in that effort. Only 4 of them survived. Okay. And so I did not get to meet the 4th one. I met 3 of them because they, for whatever reason, the 4th one did not want to participate in the writing of the book and the making of the movie. And so it was my honor and privilege to interview them when they were on the publicity tour for the book and the movie 13 Hours in Benghazi. Okay. And so they had to defy their own government. And here we go, Afghanistan just a couple of weeks ago, and it's the same situation. You have retired military having to defy, you have Glenn Beck and his group raised $20-some million and hired their own airplane to go in and fly people out because the government would not do it. Because why? the narrative needed to be said that, hey, this war on terror is over. We've won it. Everything's okay. Nothing to see here, folks. Okay, and so the mainstream media supports it. All right, and so therefore, the average person that doesn't pay close attention, that doesn't check up behind the mainstream media, they buy into the phony narrative. All right, and so, but this is, and I pray, I pray that our soldiers around the world are successful too, because I know they're going to try something. Now, if we successfully repulse what they're going to try, we may not even hear about it. Okay, but if they succeed, we certainly will hear about it. So we pray for the soldiers and the people that are on alert all around the world. Certainly on September 11th, every year, people should be on alert, okay? Because again, in the mind of the dedicated Muslim fundamentalist, September 11th is a date that will always live in infamy, okay? And that's going to be it for today's program. I'm going to ask you all to please share this program, share this message. I'm going to ask you to share it on multiple platforms, all right? Because this does not get the play that it deserves, okay? It does not, all right? And, and it bothers me that year after year after year, I'm one of only a handful of people that discuss this, okay? And there have been more than 1 year that I've been the only person to discuss it and to do so live on the air. All right, there have been several years when I was the only person to do so. All right, and now I don't know if now there are more people doing it, but certainly you out there, I don't care if you only have the reach of 100 Facebook friends, whatever you have, if you have 1,000, if you have 5,000, whatever reach you have, I am asking you to share this program and to put some comments down, okay? And give it a thumbs up, and then go to my YouTube channel, because this program will be loaded into my YouTube channel. And the name of my YouTube channel is Brother Craig the Hatchet Man, okay? So help get the word out. A people who refuse to learn the lessons of history are doomed to repeat them. That's okay. And so I just want to say thank you. God bless you to all of the soldiers, our military personnel, our police, to any safety officer or peace officer who's on watch. God bless you. Thank you for being there. And, and I know the Democrats talk about defunding police and that military soldiers are evil and all this type of stuff. Now, I think you do have some soldiers in the top ranks, some generals and colonels who are in it, so that once they retire, they can go get a big fat contract with a military government supplier. I think you do have some people like that, and they're evil and wicked. Okay, but I think by and large, most people do not join the military for personal gain, so that they can get a nice fat retirement. I know a few do, but for the most part, I think these are people that are honorable and that they are worthy of our respect, our love, and our prayers. Okay, and so with that, I'm just going to say that I pray that the Lord would bless you and keep you. I pray that the Lord would make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. And I pray that the Lord would lift his countenance up upon you and give you peace. God bless you. And please check us out tomorrow for our weekly Sunday message. Bye now.